New York City Mayor Bill de Blasio speaks as Rep. Tim Ryan, DO, looks on during the first night of the first Democratic presidential debate. Joe Radel, Getty Images, Sen. Michael Bennett, D. Colo, is giving a copy of his memoir to each new donor. Sen. Kirsten Gillibrand, DNY, has spent $50,000 on Facebook ads in the past week. And Rep. Tim Ryan, D. Ohio, is selling shirts that read, Namaste, America, and Adopt, Don't Shop, ahead of Wednesday's deadline to qualify for the Democratic National Committee's September debates. A dozen Democratic presidential candidates are pulling out every stop in last-minute bids to keep their campaigns alive. Most face little chance of making the third debate, which will take place on September 12 and potentially Sept. 13, if any additional candidates qualify. A few well-funded campaigns might be able to hold out until October, when the DNC will host another debate. But many candidates are running out of money and time to make their case to Democratic primary voters. The DNC's debate benchmarks, set earlier this year, require that candidates amass 130,000 individual donors and hit at least 2% in 4 DNC-approved polls conducted since June 28. 10 candidates have met both criteria so far, while another 3, billionaire Tom Steyer, wellness guru Marianne Williamson and Rep. Tulsi Gabbard, D. Hawaii, have met the donor mark but currently fall short of the polling requirement. Washington Gov. Jay Inslee, who made climate change the central issue of his campaign, had also reached 130,000 donors before he dropped out of the race last week. Both requirements have been sources of controversy in recent weeks. Steyer reached 130,000 donors on August 13, just a month after he launched his campaign. His success on this front brought criticism from other candidates, including Bennett and Montana Gov. Steve Bullock, who argued that the billionaire's ability to spend heavily on advertising made it easy for him to acquire small-dollar donors. Nearly all the 2020 contenders have relied on digital advertisements in order to accumulate small contributions and meet the DNC's requirements. The DNC's donor requirement is making it possible for a billionaire to buy his way onto the debate stage, the Bullock campaign said on Facebook, referencing Steyer's bid. And we're kidding ourselves if we're calling a $10 million purchase of 130,000 donors a demonstration of grassroots support. The Democratic presidential candidates have collectively spent more than $39 million on digital ads this cycle, led by Steyer's more than $5.3 million. Bullock has spent just $112,000, the fourth least of any candidate still in the race. Meanwhile, both Steyer and Gabbard have been critical of the DNC's polling rules, citing unclear standards as to how the DNC approves polls and an overall dearth of polls in recent weeks. In a press release Friday, the Gabbard campaign pointed to 24 polls where the Hawaii representative achieved 2% or higher but the pollster was not certified by the DNC. The campaign also criticized the lack of polling after the July debates, when Gabbard's supporters felt she had a breakout performance. Steyer's campaign also released a statement on Friday criticizing the lack of qualifying polls. Neither Steyer nor Gabbard reached 2% in national poll released Monday by Monmouth University, which was the fifth qualifying poll released in August and the first since August 2014. Qualifying polls were released between June 28 and July 31. Steyer, who is self-funding his campaign, is one of the few candidates who can afford to miss making the stage in September. Inslee, Colorado Governor John Hickenlooper and Rep. Seth Moulton, D. Mass, all dropped out in the past week as it became clear they would not qualify for the upcoming debate. Each of their campaigns was also under financial stress. Of the three, Inslee had the most cash on hand at the end of June, with just under $1.2 million. Bullock, Williamson, Ryan and New York Mayor Bill de Blasio are among the candidates who might be forced to drop out next. Neither Bullock nor de Blasio has hit 2% in any qualifying polls, while Williamson has achieved that mark only once. All three have less than $1.5 million in cash on hand at the end of the second quarter. And without the chance to address a national audience via a televised debate, it will be difficult for any of them to turn those numbers around. Bennett, Gabbard and Gillibrand might, like Steyer, be able to sustain their campaigns a bit longer with the hopes of picking off supporters from candidates who drop out. They would look to qualify for the debate in October. Gillibrand, whose digital ad spending numbers rival those of leading candidates, said last week that she had reached 115,000 donors, 15,000 shy of the DNC threshold. Due to excess cash, mostly from $9.5 million she transferred from her Senate campaign earlier this year, she can afford to stay in the race, even as she has only hit 2% in one qualifying poll. You might not be ready to commit to a presidential candidate yet, and that's okay, the Gillibrand campaign said in a text to supporters Monday. But if you want to see me on the debate stage, I need you to chip in $1 now. Feel free to distribute or cite this material, but please credit the Center for Responsive Politics. For permission to reprint for commercial uses, such as textbooks, contact the Center. Email protected. Support accountability journalism at opensecrets.org. We offer in-depth, money and politics stories in the public interest. Whether you're reading about 2020 presidential fundraising, conflicts of interest or dark money influence, we produce this content with a small, but dedicated team. Every donation we receive from users like you goes directly into promoting high-quality data analysis and investigative journalism that you can trust. Please support our work and keep this resource free. Thank you. Support Open Secrets. Jessica joined CRP as a reporting intern in June 2019. She is a recent graduate of Bowdoin College, where she studied economics and edited the college's independent student newspaper. She grew up in Louisville, Colorado. Let's block ads. Why?